I'll be making an installation video for a ARB bumper on a 1997 Toyota Tacoma. It's going to be very similar to 4Runners of the same year, obviously 1995 through 04. But first you're going to have to remove your stock bumper, and here's what you're going to need to do. Starting off, you're going to have 2 bolts on each side that are holding your main bumper on. You're going to go under, you can reach them from the bottom, you're going to remove those. There's 2 here, and then moving on over, there's also going to be 2 more on this other side. While you're at it, you're going to want to unclip your indicator light wiring. They can get kind of stuck, so if you take a screwdriver and kind of put it in here, pry down, and then start working it back and forth, you'll get that off a little bit easier. I'd recommend, if it's really stuck, maybe just undo your indicator, pull it out this way so you're not dealing with it under the truck, and then those will come unplugged. Another thing you're going to need to remove, you have 2 little bolts or a bracket system that attaches here and attaches to your bumper right there. You're going to want to go in on the back side of your fender well right here, and you're going to put you're going to remove those bolts on both sides, and that will allow you to dismount the bumper. Next thing you're going to find on the truck is it's going to look something like, something like this on here. You're going to have to remove all the bolts that are holding your skid plate to that bracket right here, and then you're going to undo your main bolts here and here. With that, this piece will come off. There is a new piece that is in the ARB kit that will be replacing that. Lastly, you're going to have some tow hooks on both sides, here and here. I would recommend maybe spraying some penetrating lube down through the bolts or down through these holes right here to get the top of the bolts, because they can get kind of rusty and seized on there. Spray that in there, let it sit for about 5 minutes on each side, then you'll be able to remove those without a problem. Next, we're going to move on to the installation of the new ARB bumper, because that should be everything you need to do. So here we are. I have kind of continued on with the installation after, I'd say, beating my head against the wall for a good 30 minutes to an hour. I think I've made a little bit of progress on the bumper. I did have to remove the skid plate just to give myself a little bit more room, but I'll explain kind of why I did that here in a little bit. We still have a giant slew of bolts right here that, I'm not 100% sure where they all go to, but I have kind of separated them out a little bit, so I think I know where some of them go. For example, these ones over here, those are going to be holding the bottom part of the bumper on. I'll show that in a little bit. Some of these long bolts here, frankly, I have no idea. I know these longer bolts here with the sleeves, I'll show where, in other videos and in other instructions, I've seen people drill holes through the bottom of the bumper and adding those pins, so I'll kind of explain that here in a little bit as well. So far, let me just pan this on over here, what I have done. So the bottom flat plate with the lip on it is facing inwards, so that's what your skid plate's going to attach to. I just took the skid plate off because it was kind of in my way as I was trying to put that on. So what I did, I'm going to pull this off real quick, was first I took the blocks here that are supplied. In some of the newer vehicles, people are cutting off the frames, and these older ones, it sits back in. So you're going to need this block. I reused the bolt that originally held on this big piece here that we took off earlier, and reuse that to put this block on. It's kind of a pain to put a wrench in here and tighten it up, but you can do it, and then it's solid. The reason I did that, though, is because all of the longer bolts that I have don't seem to fit on the... Sorry about that little break. I had a meat salesman come by my house, and my dog was freaking out. So what I was saying is, all of the longer bolts that I have, over here, for example, these real long ones here, and those ones over there, they don't fit in this end hole right here. But there are 2 bolts. I don't know what size they are. They're not very long, but they're a little bit fatter. All these do screw right on in, and they seem to work just fine. So what I did, moving over here to this other side, is once I, actually I'll go back. Once I got this all tightened up on here, I then came back over to this other side here, and I then slid this one over, screwed in that small bolt, that's the same one that you see over there, and then now it's lined up on the bottom, or the holes are lined up on the bottom down there to be then have a bolt go through, and then we do have a small hole there, which then corresponds with a hole right here. Where I said those long screws with the sleeves go, from what I've seen in other videos, these ones right here, people have drilled a hole through this. Typically it's on a vehicle with a frame that's sticking out, and then they put this bolt right through there and then pin this whole piece into that. Otherwise it's only held on by these bottom bolts here and these two bolts here. Additionally, there are some small these little metal flange things, I guess you would call them. Give me one second. They look like this. These just slide right in. Well, they kind of snap in like that on your bumper, and that's what your screw holes are going to go through, or your screws are going to go through your bumper into here a little bit later. Like I said, I had some of those bolts kind of laid out. That's what I think they're for. There's also some of those, let's see if I can get in here, right down here. So you're going to see one, see one right down there, right there, and then those kind of go all the way across, and that is how you're going to attach your skid plate when it comes to putting it back on. So let me just take a step out real quick. That's kind of where I'm at. With this other one, you know, these just kind of slide on like so. Oh, I gotta take that screw out, and then slide it all the way on, then put the screw back through, well, this hole right here to attach it onto the truck. If this isn't the right way to do it, you won't be seeing this video, and if that's the only way I was able to get it to work, well, that's that's about all I can figure out. As I said earlier, you know, like say these longer bolts, this is kind of what I thought it would be. I figured they were going to go through here and all the way to the frame, you know, but the problem is, well, that does not thread in right there, and this also will not thread in to the frame part itself. So again, mystery bolts. Maybe they're for the winch, maybe not, but I will keep you updated as I keep going. Okay, well, I got all of these put on. I also I go back over to this side. I also drilled the hole. I've seen it on other you know, channels or in other, you know, people's forums that they use the bolt hole that's down here, drilled all the way through, and then popped out at the top and bolted all the way through there. So the short bolt, you know, and that are not intersecting on the back side there. They're not even touching. A lot of people, they use these smaller bolts with the sleeves right here for that, but frankly, I had those bigger bolts there, and it might be for the winch, so I decided to use those instead because they're a little bit thicker, a little bit bigger, and I figured they'd be a little bit stronger. So that's what I did. Next step, we will be installing the bumper. Obviously, we have all of our little pins in place, and we also have those on the back side here. And then on our plate, you'll see that I attached these pieces for when we then go and attach it to the bumper. So those all should be in the right place, and if they're not, I will figure that out here shortly when we go to put the bumper on. Alright, skipping forward a little bit again, we got the bumper on. It kind of takes two people. Sometimes those two brackets, they're straight up and down. They can be a little bit close. It kind of helps if you put the bumper on one side of it at an angle, and then you push and it will pop in. Then you kind of got to pick it up and move it towards the back. But that seemed to work pretty well. The little pins, the little, I guess, clip-in pins that are mounted to this bracket right here, you can kind of see where the bolt goes into one of them down there. Those tend to fall out when you're trying to put this on, so I would recommend taking a piece of duct tape or tape and taping the back side, you know, this side basically, of that bracket, so those little metal pins are held on there and they won't fall out when you put pressure against them with the screw, because that will happen. Another note with that as well, those little pins, there are some that are different sizes. I didn't notice that at first until I went to put the screws in, and some of them are slightly different sizes, and that's because some of them are for this here and the front, when others are directly only for these brackets that stick out. So I'd recommend taping them, and then I would also, you know, recommend making sure all of them are the correct size. You'll have 6 bolts. They're all, you know, not real long. I wish I had an extra one. They're only, you know, obviously about that long. And you'll want to use those. You can kind of see, let's see if I can get under here with this. Sorry, kind of, oh, yeah, you can see the bolts right up there. But yeah, I'd recommend definitely taping those. That makes it a lot easier. After that, obviously, I still need to tighten up my tow hooks and put this other plate back on, but that will be pretty simple. I just didn't get to it the other day, frankly, because, well, it started raining, as you can see, and it's cold, and I really wasn't enjoying that. So that is how you're going to get that on. If you have any questions, leave a comment below, and I'd be happy to get you more information.